Well, welcome back as we run it back here for what is going to be the second game. It's a bit of a do-or-die situation if you are a Direwolves fan or even a player in this situation because they cannot afford to get 2-0'd. If it's 2-0'd, well, GG, that is their playoff stream coming to an end. As for Ground Zero, a 2-0 really put them in good stead to try and feel a fair bit confident about locking in that second seed, Max. And after that Game 1 performance, you wouldn't put it past them.
Oh no, it's certainly an uphill battle for the Direwolves to come in here and even contest in one game. After what we saw in Game 1, was just a complete shellacking from top to bottom. It really, even the Katsuri show wasn't able to come online just because of how dominant the rest of Ground Zero were able to be. So coming into this game, they're really going to need to put everything aside, put all those woes of the past aside and really come out and be reborn as a new team here.
Well, let's see if they can really give us their best performance to date, as they really need to dig deep and find some success. They're going to change up their bans already as they look to go for the Udia ban, as they flip the sides, going from red to blue. What is their first pick priority? And do they have any recency bias? Do they feel like the Smolder is a necessary ban?
I do wonder. It didn't really seem like the biggest problem. It was a problem for us as casters trying to hear anything when that ultimate was being cast. But I think that, for the first pick, I would like to see them go towards something more traditional here, right? Obviously, we saw a center being picked up for the Direwolves previously in their first pick, but not really convincing. Wasn't enabling Katsuri to do the amount of damage that he normally would like to do. So I would be expecting something like a Varus or even a Kalista to come out here, depending on what Ground Zero round their bounds out with, because this Riven is still going to be taken off the table. Still a lot of respect being shown towards River in this top lane.
So they are going to remove any kind of potential for Cheese here that could try and get him back into this series. And it certainly has been a staple, which has been denied away from him. But after last night, maybe he wouldn't even want to play it. After Woodon had an absolute clutch performance into that performance. So let's see what Direwolves do decide to go for here as their first pick priority. The Varus, the Philios is up and available, but they decide instead to run it back with the Orianna.
So Orianna was a big kind of problem for them last game in the hands of Kisei. Just paired so nicely with Churnfire on that Nocturne. And I think with the way that the draft is going, it's going to be another game of Smolder here for Lemus. So really valuing this champion. Didn't obviously have to do too much in last game just because of how dominant his solo laners were already. But certainly that potential was there with those 225 stacks picked up, and it's going to be the Hwang. Now keep in mind that this is still a pick that has a bit of flexibility on the Ground Zero roster. Sure, Kisei is fantastic at it, but Benvi also no stranger to it in that support position.
Certainly am, in terms of being the only two players that are willing to try and flex it, as opposed to just being an outright support style champion. So let's see then what matchup would make it more favorable with the Orianna already locked in. You have a sneaking suspicion that it would lean towards that mid lane, but the Nocturne going to be denied away from Churnfire, giving them some agency to try and be a little bit more aggressive as they go for the blind Cassante too.
Well, why not just steal their draft? I mean, it worked so well against them. You may as well pick it up, give yourself that ease of execution. And speaking of ease of execution, it's going to be that Cassante to round it out as well here. So for River, in that top lane, he's played a fair bit of Cassante in previous weeks and is looking to have a similar performance today. Hopefully being that stable member in the top lane, he can really just survive and be that front line that they were missing so desperately in their last game.
Certainly do need a bit more front lines to start right like this. Looks like a promising change. But the response from Shern is fantastic. Zen has certainly been one of his best champions, where he looks most ease, with the most comfort, no doubt. And certainly does allow him to be a lot more aggressive, right? We spoke about it beforehand, where you sort of expect that level 3 dive towards the bot lane. Well, a fantastic champion to achieve that.
Yeah, absolutely is. And coming into the second phase here, without an AD carry picked up for the Direwolves, it really is going to allow Ground Zero to pinch this pool for Katsuri here. The Varus being taken away denies that kind of long-range engage, long-range lethality poke as well as a potential on-hit build that could come out. So wondering what they do want to settle for here. Obviously, Ezreal and... I've lost my train of thought. Ezreal and Lucian were the two picks that I was thinking there, but Lucian going to be taken off. So the pick that worked so well for them in their one win so far, not going to be allowed here to Katsuri.
There's a world in which I'd find it so satisfying if they were just to slam like a Seraphine Karma bot lane and just make Smolder's life a living misery. But I feel like we're so far-fetched before finding that sort of a real reality here. So I'd sort of expect something a lot more standard. But certainly just going to chuck that one out into the void there, see what happens as they do ban away the Nautilus and the Gnar. So denying a lot of that strong engage, or even counter engage, if you will, that Ground Zero have.
So it's going to be the Rakan picked up here for Ground Zero, for Benvi in particular. which does enable, you know, a potential double range from the Direwolves if they wanted to go towards something like a Caitlyn Lux. Lux, obviously, very nice champion into Rakan in the lane, but it certainly would give them the flexibility to kind of shove down that lane and have it as a win con here. But once again, the counter pick saved for 5P in top lane. He does already know that it's going to be that K'Sante towards the top lane, opting instead to give himself the flexibility to see the entire enemy comp before TN chooses his champion.
That's exactly right. It's decision-making time now. What is that bot lane going to be? Caitlyn with what pairing? Is it Caitlyn Karma? Is it Caitlyn Lux? Is it Caitlyn Morgana? Are we really diving deep into what the possibilities could be here as they try and figure out how do they want to try and shut down the Smolder in particular? Oh, okay.
Yes, so it's going to be Lissandra. We've seen this emerge as a kind of counter pick into the Rakan because you're able to negate so much of his engage. As well, in my head, it's a good pairing with the Caitlyn because you have so much CC, you're able to lock these targets down for long enough that you'll be able to put a trap underneath them and just one-shot them that way. So, not the Lux, not as, you know, much of a lane bully as that pick, but certainly a very nice reactive pick into the Rakan.
Certainly is that the Zac comes out in the end. They had all the time in the world, did Tien, to figure out how do I want to try and deal with this K'Sante, and certainly has been one of his go-to champions. I feel like, you know, for Tien, you sort of think of what his go-to champions have been when he is given the ability to counter. It's always been the Poppy or the Zac. He's looked very much at ease when he's been piloting the champion, and no doubt it just adds another layer of engage, which makes life very difficult for Direwolves.
Well, that's the thing. Both of these comps here just have so much engage. Neither one of them really wanting to play reactively. Instead, we've got this Orianna Nocturne pairing for the side of Direwolves with the Lissandra over the top. And like you just mentioned, Ground Zero, having that Zac combined with the Rakan and Xin Zhao, going to mean that they feel very comfortable running forward. So it's almost like two death balls meeting each other in the middle and seeing which one comes out on top in the scrap.
It certainly does feel that way, doesn't it? A case of maybe once again, just that sort of ultimate galore with everything colliding and seeing what the remnants are once the dust does settle. But either way, it's an exciting switch up. It's sort of to be expected when the sides do flip from red to blue. But I do really wonder if this is the comp that Direwolves are happy with, because they've got themselves that strong sense of engage. They've got the double front line like we wanted to see from them, and they've got a safe AD carry that has a fair bit of range to try and feel that they can do all this at once. But at the same time, this has been a vulnerability for the Caitlyn. If you fall behind, it does feel pretty bad until you've got those two throw items back.
And that's the hope here, is that Katsuri will be able to use this range advantage over Lemus to really grab a foothold in the lane here. We need Caitlyn to get ahead, because if she's not, like you said, she's just going to fall victim to these tanky members jumping on top of her. But as we load onto the Rift for Game 2, it's a must-win for the Direwolves. They want to keep their playoffs hopes alive. Can they turn it around from Game 1?
Right you are, Max. They are sat in 8th position right now with only a single point. They need more. They need anything. And a single point is all they can achieve now from the one game remaining in this series. As for Ground Zero, currently in 3rd position, a 2-0 here would actually pinch Antic's 2nd place spot and will give them the best chance of getting a phenomenal seeding going into those playoffs.
Yeah, definitely something I'm sure that they're valuing, they're thinking about now. Obviously against the Direwolves, the Game 1 would have filled them with confidence, given how dominant they were able to be. And I think as we look around this mid lane, this is really where the focus is. I'm assuming going to be for a lot of the game. Kisei is just so willing to be aggressive on this way into Orianna matchup. We've seen him before just almost diving under the enemy turret against Aziz and the like to try to force out solo kills. So expect him to be very pushed up, very aggressive in this lane. And we know what Schönfly can do when he gets active early. Going to be opting for a Wolf start here. So perhaps trying to get that level 3 finish towards the bot lane on his Gromp to be able to contest any possible dive that might come out from the Direwolves.
And he seems to be that way. Nice heads-up play to make sure that you do have protection in that bot lane, and perhaps anticipating that Lisa might want to try and get a bit aggressive like he just did on the Nocturne in game number 1 here. But that is the ranged advantage, like you highlight, working wonderfully here for Direwolves so far. And really giving them that strong start to not only get level 2, but get the push too.
He's going to expend the Ghost to do it, but gets a very significant health advantage in their favor. And that really is going to make sure that the wave is solely under their control. You can see already the Smolder struggling against the range that this Caitlyn has. Firm control here for the Direwolves. It's only going to be a 2-wave crash, so not the 3-wave that you would have liked to see, but still nonetheless, they will be able to pressure that turret. And with all the Caitlyn traps ready, it makes it incredibly hard for either of these two champions on Ground Zero to walk up.
And he does, makes it Fairly frustrating then, no doubt, for Benvi to figure out, okay, when can I actually look to try and dash on through? And if I do jump back, am I actually going to be in a position to not get outplayed by those traps? Let's look to top lane right now as Tien is getting dangerously low to pop in that passive, but he's picking up the health blocks. They're not going to be denied here by River, who looks to try and dodge him back, looks to try and force at the passive, but Shern, classic old Shern, finds first blood.
He's right where he needs to be. Schönfire on the Zinzao, seeing that there's a lot of trading, but speaking of trading, mid lane,
Lisa's looking for it as well. They're going to try and force out the flash from Kisei at the very minimum. Flash to flash, it's found, and he answers back beautifully.
yeah, crucially that Orianna ball coming through, hitting the W as well, going to provide the damage necessary to take down Kisei there, and also uses the flash here. So a much better start from Direwolves. Yes, they lose that first blood in the top lane, but a kill going over to your jungler early, getting him to snowball, and getting him towards his blue buff is definitely a promising sign.
Certainly is. Really what you're after is the Nocturne. And a good heads-up play to try and find that opportunity in the very first place, right? Not be too tunneled in on the necessity to rush to level 6 to match and respond and feel like this early game isn't a case of, okay, we've just played a 30-minute match, we've only managed to find 4 kills, let's get the ball rolling right away.
Get the ball rolling, they absolutely will. Still towards the spot lane, Lemus has managed to do a decent job of equalizing the CS lead. He's only down about 4 now. But Schönfire will be spotted on this ward here. So you can see that blue buff take really important in getting Lisa ahead. He's a level up now and still has his red and Krugs to complete. So this Nocturne, who needs to get towards that level 6 really early on to be able to impact the map to the best of his ability, is certainly making headway in that regard.
It certainly is. Working his magic and finding what he can without getting punished too much by this Caitlyn. Back to the top lane we go then. Ezreal once again is going to be relentless with these Intofo strikes, looking to really keep Tien at bay. Gets the third one for the knockback, and no doubt is now hunting for that passive. So much so that Tien is forced to flush away to safety, really valuing that one.
He's forced to flash away, but look at the TP differences. River has already had to use his, whereas Tien managed to hold on. So we'll be looking to TP back here and potentially threaten a freeze as well. River not necessarily having the HP, but River get this wave in, so it'll be interesting to see how this unfolds top lane. He's very out of mana as well. You can see simply doesn't have the resources to contest it in the extended trade, especially with all the blobs spawning, all the health that Tien gets back on this Zac.
He's just spamming his abilities, unstable like you wouldn't believe it, and getting all this HP back. Now with the Balmy Cinder makes life even easier for him to get the shove in and make River's life that much more difficult. He's once again forced to go back to base, as to be expected, with no HP and no mana. Can't really do too much in that lane, but it's going to take him an age to walk on back, and actually is going to cancel the recall.
Yeah, so now this K'Sante is just really out of the picture for an extended duration now. No mana underneath his turret. He'll get his next biscuit at 6 minutes, but until that point, really going to be just auto-attacking to catch the CS. And that enables Ground Zero to head towards these grubs and take them. A nice little roam from Benvi as well to escape what was quite a dire lane situation and pick up those first 3 Void grubs for the red side.
It certainly is a nice play, especially when you know that Direwolves want to get a strong foothold in this one, and especially the Caitlyn wants to continue that shove, wants to get those tower plates, and wants to have a fair amount of gold to really work with. But with the grubs going against them, it does mean that Lisa, searching for something in the mid lane, isn't going to find much. Benvi obviously taunting him and clearing out the vision that was literally just planted. That presence alone is enough for them to figure out, okay, we still commit to this dragon or not. There's going to be 3 members in the area, but Smolder is not too far away. There's no doubt Lisa will be popping his head in there and just trying to get some free stacks.
And Benvi's baiting a little bit there. You can see he's kind of posturing like Schönfire's behind him. But the rest of Direwolves could assume that he's on the top side of the map, clearing those camps, and as well in the mid lane, Kisei had used the Spiraling Despair, so there would have been an ult disadvantage if they chose to fight it. So for the time being, it will just be that objectives traded back and forth there. Dragon stacking coming online for the side of Direwolves, which is really what you like to see when you have this Caitlyn. You know, you want to be playing around her, making sure you're taking advantage of her priority, and so far the Direwolves have been able to do that.
Certainly have. It's a much more even state to be found as we crest over just to the 7-minute mark. Not too much separating these two teams right now. Dragon for those Void Grubs, as Lisa is going to beat the other jungler, as Schönfire is hovering in that bush. Is it really willing to reveal himself just yet? They're just hovering, anticipating anything to go awry, because level 6 is there now, as opposed to Schönfire still lagging behind with level 5. Back to top we go then. And a bit of a CS advantage actually taking place here by Tien, to be expected, given that sort of mismatch on TP and mana. But still with the passive intact, can continue to play ever so aggressive.
Yeah, now that level 6 has come through for this Kasante, there certainly is a little bit of danger in if you do take these extended trades. He can just pop into the all-out and does have quite a nice time with that percent damage, killing Zach here in River. So aggressive in this lane, you can see just always wanting to trade here onto TN. But the sustain is really the deciding factor here. Unless River's able to constantly proc these grasp autos, it really will just be in the favor of TN, who's able to just spam his unstable matter, pick those up and heal back up. But across the map, things still relatively even. That level 6 did come through for Lisa, but he hasn't been able to find a Paranoia target just yet. You can see ideally would be pairing up with Emphis to combine that ultimate shockwave with the Paranoia. But so far, Kisei been doing a good job at keeping him at bay.
Certainly has the flash available to him as well, and with the protection of both Benvi and Schönfire there, it makes it even more difficult then for Lisa to try and strike that target down and burn anything of real significance as a result. But this has been a bit of a difference in this spot lane, is the fact that Benvi has been unleashed so much so that he can roam around the map and be there as a helping hand, that Smolder hasn't been under enough pressure to feel the burden of being fairly weak in this early stage. He's keeping good pace here with Katsuri, and there is our customary pause.
Of course. Why not? And I actually wanted to talk about the Smolder build here, Skimmy, because he's going for a different route. You see the Ruby Crystal in his inventory. Almost looks like he's building his way towards a Shojin or a Trinity Force, depending on what he wants to pick up there first. So not the Essence Reaver that we did see previously. Instead, kind of valuing the survivability, especially in the rough lane against the Caitlyn. All that HP can be really helpful.
Certainly can be. You want to try and get your way through that laning phase as unscathed as you possibly can, so that you can pick up all those stacks that you aren't missing out on crucial laning time, be it gold and experience at the same time too. And it's sort of a point we mentioned at the start of this week, right, on Monday last night. We're talking about the amount of variability with this champion kit. We've seen the Leandries, we've seen the Iceborne Gauntlet, we've seen what we just saw the last game, right, with all the ability haste too. So there's a fair degree of freedom as everybody's trying to figure out where it's best placed. And at this stage, it does still feel like it is a champion better served towards the bot lane, despite us seeing it in the mid lane. But until other champions, or until other players rather, look to try and pick up the champion, I feel like we're quite content seeing it there paired with a nice support. It's
always the case though, isn't it? Is you kind of see it on the fringe of these solo lane picks, and then eventually it gets picked in a major region, and then everyone's playing it, and it explodes into the mid lane. But like you kind of discussed earlier, I think it really does suffer in the early laning phase. I can't imagine a Smolder into an Orianna would be having a fun time whatsoever, just kind of getting shoved under its turret on repeat. And that's the thing, you can't really farm that well if you're forced to catch waves under your turret, especially at an early level, because that Q is going to be on a cooldown that it's not going to allow you to last hit every single minion. So Limus here in the bot lane has done a very good job as we pan top lane, and River's very low here. TN has been known to go for dives again, but it is against the Kasante, so I'm not sure he wants to go for that one up there.
Yeah, certainly can be very deceptive on either end, right? Both champions fairly tanky, and bit of a nuisance in terms of getting that kill confirmed. And looking towards mid lane, yeah, just frustration really for Lisa, no doubt. He really wants to try and get that simple play, that execution style with Emphis unlocked, but unable to really strike it, and unable to get Emphis out of lane to target elsewhere.
And they really want to look towards this bot lane. You can see the way that Lisa's posturing. He knows that he has the advantage to be able to push up here and take the camps, but they'd love to put some pressure on Limus. They already do have one plate, but ultimately having a Smolder be the same CS as your Caitlyn is once again that soundbite coming through, but he's going to nuke the wave and not allow this push to come through, not allow this dive to take effect.
Yeah, completely cancels that condition, gets himself that free reset, knows he doesn't need to take any risks because the rest of the map is just simply winning. Tiena's pushing, Benvi's roaming, and Schönfire is just taking all 6 stacks of those Void Grubs. They have the siege, they've got that late game condition to really give themselves a vote of confidence. So why take the risk? He does end up actually holding his own in that bot lane, just standing, just out of vision, the ward there to protect himself. But he has to give up so many tower plates as that wave crashes.
Yeah, you can see Kisei and Benvi are roaming back down now, so they will be able to respond and help Limus pick up a few of these last remaining minions. That's Shinky getting a little bit aggressive, but the trading's coming through. Ghost is on from Katsuri.
And they're finally going to go for the play. There it is, the Shockwave Paranoia. He's flashed out the safety, but it's not safe enough. Still under threat is the kill as Shinky pops the ultimate, dies to the tower. The kill confirmed by Benvi there in the end. And in comes Kisei, but it's a little bit too late because the fight's already finished.
And what a trap there from Katsuri on the back end. You could see Benvi fall victim to the invisible Caitlyn W, but we finally see the play come through as Rivers found Tien.
Tien goes bouncing, and then River goes all out, and they really then say, okay, which one is going to burn their flash first? Tien forced in the end to concede, and respect that, look, at the end of the day, it is still Cassante.
Yeah, you can have all the HP advantage you want, but once Cassante goes into that all-out form, because I'll have to hold my thought here, we see this bot lane play once again, so Shinky getting aggressive onto Lemus, and this Orianna Nocturne pairing finally comes through. It's a great cleanse from Lemus, almost pixel perfect on that Lissandra ultimate, but it's ultimately not enough, and you can see Benvi there just gets rooted by the Caitlyn trap to secure those 2 kills for the Direwolves.
Beautifully done there by Katsuri. That's exactly what they need. Gold in all the right places. Back to top lane we go to continue this elongated trade. It feels like it's been going on for the last 2 minutes here. And the passive has been popped. Can River, yes, it's easy to confuse the two. Can he get the kill? Tien's back alive. The Entofu Strikes is not there for the knockback. And he just gets to walk away.
From the minimap look, it looked like River was managing to cancel the Zac E with his W there, knock him out of it, but that means that he doesn't have any damage available to actually kill him in the passive. So Tien will walk away, just losing the passive there. TP back to lane as well. Meanwhile, Ground Zero securing this dragon, equalizing those at 1 apiece, and Churnfire actually opting to head towards the Eclipse for his first item here, so valuing the early spike, valuing the early damage that this provides, as opposed to something like a Sundered Sky for that bit extra survivability.
Yeah, not interested in the typical Sundered Sky into Titanic Hydra build, where it does really make you that bruiser slash carry with the lethal tempo, especially making you a real damage threat. Really wants to come online nice and early and match the power, no doubt, that this Nocturne has, because no surprises, another Nocturne performance and another bounty on their head with that Hexplate complete. They are a real menace, but not enough to deter Tien from going for a roam and saying, there's a cheeky ward, I know exactly what you're up to. Who's going to help me first? Because both Kisse and Churnfire have the inside track.
And look at River, he's so low HP and mana, no ult as well, and he doesn't have the TP to be able to join, so Tien feels very comfortable continuing this play.
It's time to bounce as they bully out Lisa. And it really is just too simple for Tien to choose a great moment to leave lane, to scout out vision for his entire team to profit.
Churnfire is going to be so grateful to his top laner there, just walking the enemy jungler off the blue buff means that the Jin Zhao will be able to secure it for himself, and Ground Zero, honestly, to their credit, have been moving around the map as a team incredibly well. You can see they've been finding advantages in the top lane and then rotating members down to answer these plays in the bot wave. You can see now Kisse and Benvi making their way down towards this turret to prevent any other play from coming through. So yes, there'll be a play, but ultimately the wave's still able to be collected by Lemus.
It certainly is, but it still is a bit of extra gold before those plates finally fall on down at the 14-minute mark. Fancy feet there for Memphis, but can he dodge the slappy hands? That he cannot. As Kisse goes for the one-shot combo into Memphis, unable to find it, as the flash gets him out of harm's way.
Flash will save Memphis there. Tien so aggressive on this Zac ever since leaving lane here, as it looks like the Direwolves are wanting to break this turret. Members of Ground Zero are coming down though. Will they be able to get out?
Who pulls the trigger, and does Lisa feel that it is necessary rather, that he needs to burn the ultimate just to actually disengage out of the situation? The root is there. He's clutched and stuck in the spot as the Orianna ult comes to effect and locks down 2. The fear is fantastic, but Churnfire is still so tanky, but not enough in the end to deter Katsuri from finding himself that double kill. The Entofu Strikes to knock them back. The tower that no longer exists. So he goes all out and he finds one. And this lane is so long now that it makes it light work for the likes of a Cassante and Caitlyn to run you down. The knockback fails and Tien gives them a nice thumbs up.
Big turnaround from the Direwolves there. It looked like Ground Zero were going to collapse and take advantage of this mispositioning from the Direwolves, but it's these nice TPs in from the solo laners that enable this Orianna Nocturne combo to come through, and it's devastating once again. As we take a look at the initial play here, you can see the initial engage is good onto Shinky. They blow him up, force the Lissandra ultimate out onto Churnfire, but Lisa's waiting with the paranoia to be that ball delivery system. Only connect onto Benvi because of the Jin Zhao ultimate blocking that damage. But River is actually the unsung hero of this fight. This Cassante coming in, flashing onto Kisse here. There's simply not enough damage left to kill him, so he can just run amok in the back end of this fight.
Yeah, and I like the patience there from Lisa, the fact that he was just waiting for Memphis to TP in, and as soon as he's there, he's like, yep, we're turning around, we're making this an aggressive play, we're not looking to try and shy away from this one, and Honestly, Max, this is an interesting turn of events because whilst it feels very objective dominated by Ground Zero, it's actually Direwolves that have nearly a 2,000 gold lead.
Yeah, sitting quite pretty, especially off that back end on the bot side, right? This Caitlyn, who has been quietly achieving 3-0 and 2 now, 150 CS, as well as the whole turret going into his back pocket there. So Katsuri, who has been a powerhouse for this team, feeling quite enabled. And when you consider his front line this game, he will have the room to hit, right? Yes, there'll be an Orianna and a Nocturne kind of diving in ahead of him, but he's got the peel from a Lissandra, he's got the peel from a Cassante. He's got all he needs to have a 1v9 performance.
And it certainly feels like the stars are aligning. These are the win cons that we wanted to see, right? We wanted the Caitlyn to be ahead. We wanted a Nocturne to be a real menace. And whilst Empis is sitting at 006, he certainly has been a stable factor for them to rely upon. Keeping Kisei locked down is no easy feat.
No, it's definitely not, and you wonder whether he'll be able to do the same thing as we head towards this Dragon spawn in 30 seconds. River grabbing Tien.
He's found the angle, he's teleported him through space and time, but Tien can just bounce away, pick up the globs, get a little bit of HP, and pretend that never really happened. River, though, undeterred by this one, is going right underneath the tower. What it is when Tofo strikes, but as he put it a 4B, he can shoot because he's taken so much in the process that now he no longer actually has the health advantage. Well, the rest of his team are going to try and threaten in the mid lane with that summoning of the hero, but Tien turns around and says, it's my turn to get aggressive. River, you got nothing left. As he's forced to dash away and just limp out.
Yeah, they both limp away, but crucially there is a TP advantage on Tien here, right? He can get down towards this Dragon if he wants to. And you can see he's already basically back to full health with all of the healing that Zach has in his kit, and Direwolves, acknowledging the fact that their top lane is not going to be able to join the play, are forced to give over this second Dragon.
But they certainly are. Very defensive positioning here from Direwolves. No signs of real intent to contest this one. As to be expected, Grand Zero pick it up nice and easy. And we'll say, okay, Mountain Dragons, we don't mind that too much. A little bit of extra tankiness. Certainly going to be very handy if we have to deal with the Nocturne Wombo every single time.
Yeah, this Zach's going to be a real problem. Orianna doesn't have the greatest time at dealing with him, and neither does Caitlyn, who prefers to be taking her fights from a range. Doesn't help if a Zac is jumping on top of your head from 3 screens away. But once again, it is going to really be Katsuri who's being moved around the map to hit these turrets, take advantage of his range. As we can see, a setup towards his top lane. There is a TP ward behind the Direwolves here, but Kisei doesn't have that available, so looks like they may just break this one down.
That's going to be the case right now. He leaps into action, instantly gets about bouncing, and says it's time for Schoenfire to give me some assistance, but he gets hit by the shockwave and instantly interrupts what he was hoping to try and achieve. Everybody blows into life and says hello as the grand entrance is fantastic, and the double is found by Schoenfire. That's what you need. And that's what Tien is still hunting for underneath the tower. He doesn't really care. He'll go for the flash to order the tower, and that's beautiful.
Wombo combo for Direwolves, but Ground Zero do them one better there. Benvi rocking up at just the right time to save the play with a fantastic quickness. And a very nice grand entrance off the back end, but River doesn't want to let this play go. Looks like everybody will just run away, and he'll be left to look at his teammates' bodies.
Yeah, really looking to try and fend the scraps there. Not much to be found, just what remains of that top tier 1. Ground Zero have got in and got out. And it was all looking good for Direwolves, right? Sieging that turret, and they feel like they had the combo, but this Zac is becoming a real menace.
I mean, Zac's just unkillable in this play, so they try to turn it around with Shinky onto Schoenfire. But look at that Xin Zhao ult, right? It completely separates Emphas, and there's simply not enough damage coming out of this jungle support to kill him. And then Benvi with the nastiest charm into Grand Entrance, hitting both members of the Direwolves. And when you're running from Zac, it is not a good sign. Flash committed, yes, but another kill going over to Ground Zero, who have brought the gold lead back to even.
That they certainly have. They've kept things interesting in this one, as Ground Zero maybe taking a little bit more time to try and scale into things here. Speaking of that scaling, Limis sitting at 183 stacks with the Trinity Force completed this time around. Going for a much different build. You wonder if this is a tankier variant.
Yeah, certainly looks to be that way. He's a little play on towards the bot side though. Schoenfire has been collapsed upon here.
Oh, the shockwaves hit nothing. That's a tragedy there for Emphas. The kill is still found though. He takes Schoenfire as the lights go out. He survived for the meantime, but instantly Kisei pinches him from afar. Tien, as unkillable as he may be, surrounded by 4, realizes that that's enough. And that is too much to bear with. His passive gets popped. He comes back alive. He's life leech like you wouldn't believe it, but the fear may just be the difference maker.
Incredibly close there as Kisei is fishing for a little kill as well off the back end of it. Forced to flash out in response, but the Direwolves, a nice capitalization onto a bit of an overextension from Schernfire. They bring Shinky down in the area, and then the TP from River as well to secure the dive, but it's Katsuri potentially caught up in the mid lane, ghosts out.
Nice feat, make sure he doesn't get hit there by Kisei. Would have spelled disaster. Spending the ghost is a small price to make sure that you continue to be ahead. The only bounty on their team right now, the wealth of their goal. But let's see it in the bot lane again, because initially it's Emphas, and you're thinking it's a disaster when he misses a shockwave.
Yeah, but crucially, with that Xin Zhao W missing, it means that Schernfire has to wait a little bit for the engage. That buys time for the rest of Direwolves to get towards this play, and the Paranoia actually does a lot of work in terms of zoning off Kisei, meaning that he takes quite a while to be able to kill Emphas. And then off the back end of that, Kisate just so strong here. Unfortunately, not landing the Q-Flash combo. But right away, Tien looking for another engage. Katsuri's been caught.
Certainly has. The quickness is good. Katsuri's in trouble, and Katsuri is simply going to die. Oh, there we go. Sound banged, I guess. You say flash bang from all these visuals, but it's just this ultimate as the big dragon comes down. You can't hear anything else.
It's a big dragon coming down. It's a huge pick for Ground Zero. That is so much of the Direwolves' gold lead gone in an instant there. And they're going to turn back towards this Baron. You can see there's no Paranoia available from Lisa. Ultimate's on everyone else though, so there is a world in which they fight this. They don't want to give this Baron over for free.
So on his own, they're going to go for a bit of a contest here, but without their strongest member, is this ever a winning fight for them? Is it a situation they're feeling confident about? Tien out of vision, out of mind, out of sight, but still a real menace.
River?
In jumps River, trying to do it all on his own right now. The Baron is still engaged. He's taking a 1v4. And Tien, his late opponent, takes him down. In the end, Shinky locks down the kill as they remove Benvi. But there goes Lima sneezing on the opposition, picking up all the stacks in the world, making it ever too easy. Tien brings them together as he claps his hand, and congratulations are shared amongst them.
There's no Baron going over to Ground Zero, but they will get a heap of kills in response. They bait them in and turn perfectly with Tien on this Zac, just finding so much value with the engage potential. And yes, Katsuri is back in the mid lane, but there are 3 members of Ground Zero pushing this turret and no flash on this Caitlyn. So they will be able to break this open. With another Mountain Soul up and available, you would imagine that's where they're turning their sights next.
And it's just so disastrous, right? If ever Ground Zero get a chance to try and position and set up in a lane, those towers just fall on down so easily. A real menace to try and contend with right now. You're looking to try and figure out how the Direwolves score their way back into this one, because they're down what now feels like a 2,000 deficit. And this is a 4v5 Baron attempt.
So Ground Zero always have the intention here of turning off. You can see with the positioning of Tien, they are looking to start a play. And they find initial engage onto Emphas. Luckily, he manages to escape. And River just going in 1v4 here, tries to pick up Kisei, but doesn't have the damage amidst 4 members of Ground Zero. And that enables this further engage to come through from Tien. This Zac, nowhere is safe on the map from him with the range that he has on that Elastic Slingshot. And just so good at chasing down members of the Direwolves. So, you know, they are successful in stopping the Baron going over, but they aren't successful in preventing more gold going over. You can see 1.5k and 2 Mountain Dragons rather, working their way towards that soul point.
That would be incredibly broken if it was 2 Mountain Souls. How big would that mitigation be? The shield would be insane. Let's see what it can be found then in the bot lane in terms of the tankiest members in the Rift, as River once again realizes that Tien really is the MVP right now. He is just unbearable to deal with. Out goes the shockwave. That combo, too hard to defeat. Benvi can soak up the ace in the hole, but they still have an abundance of damage to get that kill.
No flash, no counter players. Schernfire getting aggressive onto Shinky, who did pop the ultimate. That pick onto Kisei is huge, though. He was incredibly fed as the Direwolves looking to find some more in the back end of this play.
Still hunting, still Lisa searching, but Lisa threatening with the execute now makes it a real difficult situation if they can kite him out. He's just picked up the Shojins. He's got a lot of damage in his back pocket. And he can certainly threaten from afar. Not having to worry too much about the fact of a Wombo combo that's already been burnt. So with that tier 1 already being destroyed, they can just wander into your jungle and actually interrupt your recalls.
And it's a very tanky Smolder as well, as the wind becomes lightning. Just misses here, but River,
River's in trouble. He's gone all out, and he has to run for the hills right now, but Tien has a slingshot, he has a flash, but he's not going to over-force his hand there. He knows he's strong, he knows he doesn't want to sacrifice that bounty. He will just preserve himself as his passive just comes back up.
and the Haunting Guide's doing so much work there for Tien in these extended fights. You can see River did just use the W. He might be looking again.
Good flash. Oh, and good dodge and the slappy hands right after. Really, so many little minute plays going back and forth between these to try and find the edge.
Ultimately, though, the edge does go over to TN, right? You can see he has the priority. He has the health advantage. And that means he will be able to have the first move. These mid-waves getting nuked by Smolder. As TN once again is in the area. So it looks like Ground Zero wanting to head back towards his Baron bait. Wanting to force the members of Direwolves to walk into them. And then turn as here goes TN.
And jumping in again. They want to start these fights up very consistently, but a massive backline TP. In they go to Shockwave. It's nothing. It was burnt too early. The paranoia took too long to cover that distance. And Lemus is the target. He's gone down. He takes down the Nocturne in the process. So a 1-for-1 Romeo and Juliet style. But Shinky is forced to disengage away. River stuck with nowhere left to go. He's already burnt that flash. And dashing and hoping, but running into his teammate with the sparring despair. And Katsuri says, thanks for that one. He gets knocked up. He's stuck. And thankfully flashes the safety there. But the coming together of these slappy hands has really been a difference maker. Shinky was question marking his existence for a second, but Kisei flashing to kill secure. Katsuri, a much harder task, but they'll be happy with 4.
Lemus goes down, but the cost is everything from the side of Direwolves. Like you said, they used everything to try to get on top of him. That Shockwave combo not coming through. And off the back end, Ground Zero are more than happy to turn that around. Katsuri so fed on this Caitlyn, but spends the entire fight running away. Isn't able to DPS. As we take into this fight once again. So the initial engage onto Shinky kind of signals this TP to come out. But look, because of that flash from Lemus, it creates enough distance to ensure that the Shockwave doesn't connect. That means that Direwolves have to commit so deep to find this kill onto Smolder. And then they've burnt everything. They just need to run. And Ground Zero's comp absolutely excels at chasing. You can see Katsuri wanting so desperately to find a window to hit, but he can't because he's constantly getting peppered and chased down by these members of Ground Zero.
Yeah, so hard for him to ever get a chance to try and stand and deliver, and just not enough damage at this point to try and really threaten them with any kind of counter engage. They're all too tanky, they're all too strong. We're back into the mix of things right now. Zempa starts it off with that Shockwave, takes that Lemus for the second time. Back to back now, he has been the focus, and for good reason too, but 2 kills easily found there by Ground Zero. Schönfire takes down Lisa. Rivet once again going all out, trying to find 4 people in the process, but we don't know why he does this. It's too much. And he falls on down.
It's deja vu, Skimmy. Lemus is dead, but everyone on Direwolves falls down as a result. Empus caught here.
He certainly has been caught in Schönfire, really giving him a taste of his own medicine. He is so strong. The Eclipse at the start and the Sunder Sky later on. He's a real tanky boy, but he packs a punch.
He absolutely does. In 10 seconds on this Mountain Dragon. 5 now. This will be the soul going over to Ground Zero. And Baron on the cards as well, with this Summoner spell still on cooldown for the Direwolves. Everything being expended in an effort to get that kill onto Lemus. As we take another look here, yes, is a tanky Smolder, but not tanky enough to be walking like this. Just steps into vision, and this time the Shockwave combo will land. But as a result, look at TN on this backline. You can see uncontested, no one's able to hit him. Katsuri is 3 screens away, and River left all isolated. Tries to find Kisei, but he does not have the damage.
So he doesn't. He's tried and tried again. It, as you say, is deja vu. And back from a replay again into another team fight. It is really a fair bit of despair there for Kisei with the ultimate. Not finding him a situation or a way out of that fairly dire situation as the fight continues. With Tien saying, I want it on my own terms. I've got my team to back me up. The Baron will not be going your way. The fight on 2 different fronts here is it was contested in the mid lane, but the TP's been the difference maker to try and bridge that distance. As Tien is going to fall on down eventually. The Shockwave is fantastic. The Dragon descends across the map, slowing them all down and burning them too. He's got Leandries now, does Lemus. He absolutely hits like a truck. And a double found by Schönfire. This Sin is an absolute titan as the execute is found onto River.
Ground Zero, they finally get the clean ace. Without Katsuri, the health bar is so low, he's not able to actually contest anything further. And they will turn on towards this Baron here. They will finally collect this after what's felt like an infinity of fights going back and forth, pick after pick, going in favor of Direwolves, but Ground Zero, they take the fight and they take the Baron.
That they certainly do. Let's run it back with a replay once again. It's been a real common theme here that Direwolves just find a single lone member.
They do. They pick off this time Kisei in the side lane. So Hui going down is certainly a big blow to their damage. but it's this chase from Tien, who is practically immortal at this stage on the Zac, jumping in without a care in the world into the members of the Direwolves, and this is really just to buy time. You can see they've got the inside track with the Rakan and Smolder, and they want to look for the rest of this fight. Tien goes in early, and this fear is actually huge and means that it buys time for him to not be able to pick up those blobs. And once Schönfire arrives, it is really just over. You can see Katsuri not even able to do damage to him whilst he gets one shot.
Whilst he survives in that play back in live, he did actually fall victim to a kill by Kisei. As the fights continue in the live badge, as we see them going inside the base right now, looking to end the game right here and now. They'll find success with that mid inhibitor. They'll continue to siege with the amount of damage they have online. And Tien once again can walk in and be immortal. You can hit me with that Glacial Tomb. I do not care. But the Execute is enough to force back River and Shinky that these towers will crumble to the 6 stacks of the Void Grubs. The army of minions acting like the 6th member on this Grand Zero roster. What do Direwolves have left? They lose here, they are out of playoffs. There is no chance. But it's not looking good right now. Down by 10k, not anything there to protect their base. Down comes the Mummy, in comes the damage, and there is the Dragon, the slappy hand for the
Tien.
double. And Tien has to be my MVP. He's absolutely popped off on this Zac and sent a clear statement that we are the second best team.
It's a must-win for the Direwolves, but Ground Zero show no mercy. Yes, this game was more competitive, but ultimately it ends the exact same way with Ground Zero picking up the 2-0.
A good result for them. It keeps them very much in the mix of thinking, okay, what does the seeding look like now as they turn their attention to the fixture with Antic. But overall, a clean 2-0 for them, and we got to experience a bit of Smolder gameplay. All the action broken down right after this.